Because it was carved very high at that time. These wishes were not covered by graffiti. It's very difficult. I happened to encounter my ex-boyfriend, a movie star, registering at the urology department on duty in the hospital. I put on gloves and did a palpation. There is no obvious damage on the surface. Is there any pain when pressed? A little. I continued to ask, be more specific. Is it a stabbing pain? Aching pain? Or a distending pain? Well, it doesn't hurt. What are you nervous about? He covered his face. His earlobes flushed red. Sorry, Josie. I didn't expect you to be so beautiful in a white coat. Leo had an accident with the wire during filming. Have you seen the hot search? He fell protecting Vivian. So gentlemanly. Are he and Vivian really in a relationship? Otherwise, why would he get injured protecting her? I heard from a rumor that they have an engagement. A new round-faced nurse came up to me and asked, Josie, do you think Leo and Vivian are a good match? My handwriting paused. And I instinctively resisted. I seldom pay attention to the entertainment circle. A perfect match in terms of family background. A golden boy and a jade girl. A match that I am extremely reluctant to admit. The round-faced nurse glanced at me. Her cheeks slightly flushed. Josie. You are so beautiful. Why didn't you apply to the Film Academy back then? I put the pen back on my chest and said concisely, I don't like it. You actually dared to joke with Josie. You are so brave. I am extremely nervous every time I talk to her. Josie is a famous cold beauty in our hospital. Her aura can freeze all living things within a 10-mile radius. A male voice was out of place. NPH. What cold beauty? I think it's just putting on airs. I quickened my pace and left their discussions behind. Closing the door of the consultation room, I calmed down and took a deep breath, clenching that amulet in my pocket. The first gift Leo gave me when I was 18. The edge of the amulet is damaged, revealing a corner of the old talisman paper inside. A patient knocked on the door. I calmed my emotions. Come in. Forget it. Just dig a hole and bury myself. After 6 years of not seeing each other, I would recognize Leo's face even if it were turned to ashes. He met my gaze and froze on the spot, although wearing a mask and covering most of his face. The pair of affectionate eyes that could look in a dog with deep feeling were extremely radiant, illuminating the consulting room. He has grown taller. Looking closer, his figure shows signs of regular exercise. His shoulders are very broad. The waist inside the shirt seems capable of supporting anything firmly. The two long legs are wrapped in black trousers. Slender and powerful. Well, too much of a masterpiece of the creator. For several seconds, we didn't speak. I habitually took out my phone to check the time. A chubby man squeezed in from behind Leo. Seeing him frozen in place, he said, Leo, although the doctor I registered for you is a female doctor, but she is an expert in this field. Relax. In the eyes of doctors, there is no gender. Others have seen a lot. The man looked up and gave me a smile. When seeing my action of touching my phone, he instinctively stopped me. Doctor, don't take pictures. It's not convenient for us. Leo put his hand on his shoulder and exerted a little force. His voice was muffled. Brother Wayne. She is just looking at the time and won't take pictures. Brother Wayne looked at him suspiciously. How do you know? Leo lowered his head. I just know. Brother Wayne didn't continue to ask. Sighed. I have no choice. Right? Who made you bump into that place? I took a look at what was transmitted on the computer. Got up expressionlessly. And do it and lie on the bed. Brother Wang's mouth opened into an O shape. Is it so exciting right from the start? You go out first. Don't you need my help? Really don't need it? I was injured. It's not my hand. Leo forced him out despite his resistance. The consulting room became quiet. Leo took off his mask and touched his nose guiltily. Long time no see. Josie. I don't think we are in a relationship where we can greet each other without any grudges. With a cold tone, I changed the topic. Lie down. Seeing that I ignored him, Leo sat on the examination bed somewhat sulkily. Perhaps because of too much force. He gasped and stood up. A thin layer of redness appearing at the corners of his eyes. Still a bit stupid as before. But very cute. Some inappropriate images emerged in my mind. Cross out cute. Annoying. Leo lay on the examination bed as if facing death. Speaking in a whisper, Be gentle. I'm scared. Back then, when he blocked the stick from my dad for me and got a fracture in his forearm, he didn't make a sound. He carried me with a sprained foot on his back to the hospital with gritted teeth. Before passing out, he buried himself on my lap and comforted me. Josie. It doesn't hurt. Josie. Don't cry. I didn't cry because of pain. I was scared and cried by him. At that time, I held Leo's blood-stained forearm and begged the doctor to save him. Now I put on gloves. Leaning over and doing a palpation, there is no obvious damage on the surface. He was so nervous that his whole body was tense. And his abdominal muscles were distinct and had smooth lines. I looked up and met his gaze and asked, Is there any pain when pressed? He hurriedly turned his head aside. A little. I continued to ask, Be more specific. Is it a stabbing pain? Aching pain? Or a distending pain? His mouth was red. And his eyes were red. He didn't look like a big guy at all. Rather, he looked like a little white rabbit being ravaged. Leo was so nervous that he stuttered, Well, it doesn't hurt. Whether that rumor is effective. These wishes seem to be achievable once. But now, I've messed up everything. I took off my gloves and snorted. What are you so nervous about? Leo covered his face and didn't dare to look down at all. The tip of his ear was as red as if it was bleeding. Sorry. Josie. I didn't expect you to be so beautiful in a white coat. Boom. I could feel the blood quickly spreading to my face. If I stuck a pancake on it, it should be cooked soon. I shook off his hand that wanted to hook my little finger. Unable to endure it anymore. If you can't control it, remove it. Leo widened his eyes in horror and covered his keyboard. Josie. You are clearly taking personal revenge. Leo's eyes had just been crying and were still moist. His eyelashes were clumped together. Pretending to be pitiful is what he is best at. Before, when he flipped through my phone while I was asleep, he found that a senior had confessed his love to me. I had clearly refused. Leo still wouldn't let it go. I didn't want to talk to him. He cried and hugged me and turned the tables. I am so jealous that why can't you only look at me? I was almost amused by anger. But he was crying so pitifully. I could only hold his face and promise over and over again that I would not leave and only look at him. Pretend. Keep pretending. He carefully glanced at me. Josie. Will this injury of mine not affect my function? I paused my typing fingers and stared at his pitiful expression. Deliberately said, Yes. The consequences are serious. It is recommended to remove it for treatment. This time he didn't fall for it, and whispered a complaint. Josie. You are so cruel. Looking like a wronged little wife. I pursed my lips and shifted this rather unhealthy topic. Avoid spicy, irritating food, seafood, tobacco and alcohol. Reduce exercise and can apply cold compress appropriately. Some inappropriate images flashed through my mind. I coughed softly and added, also avoid sexual life. I didn't. He suddenly got up and pulled himself. Again gasping in pain. Oh. He was so anxious when he saw my indifferent look. Don't you believe me? I really haven't. In these 6 years, I felt a little headache about my own meanness. I shouldn't have indulged my emotions and lost my calm. Interrupted him. Leo. We are just a doctor-patient relationship. You don't need to tell me these. There is no need. I watched as his face darkened inch by inch and he left the consulting room step by step. Out of my world. Even if there is none in 6 years, there will be in the future. Anyway, it has nothing to do with me. Leo is a dazzling star hanging high in the sky. He was before. He is now. And he will always be in the future. And Josie is just an insignificant speck of dust in this vast universe. After handing over the night shift and walking out of the hospital, there was a low-key Annie van parked at the entrance. My thoughts were in a mess. I lowered my head and gently kicked the small stone that my shoe tip touched. Watched it roll away until it fell into the drain and disappeared. Being too focused, I didn't notice the nanny van approaching gradually. The car window was rolled down, revealing the face I had just seen not long ago. There seemed to be something flashing not far away. But Leo's pitiful expression quickly attracted my attention. Let me take you back. Josie, it's so late. You are alone and it's not safe. I raised my phone and showed it to him. No need. I have ordered a car. Leo showed the first smile since we met. In line? Very beautiful. Extremely beautiful. So beautiful that it makes people feel flustered. I was so flustered that I got into the passenger seat in a flurry before realizing it. I was tricked by him again. This person is always good at taking advantage of his good looks, making me give in and soften for him again and again. Inside the car was the familiar and pleasant citrus smell. The song playing in the stereo was the one we used to listen to most often before. No matter where you go, I hope you can know. I will stand still and wait for you. No matter what choice you make. Please give me a hint. As long as you can see that I am waiting for you desperately. All of this made me involuntarily have the illusion that he had never left. Leo leaned over sideways. Under the refraction of the light outside the car window, his eyes showed a secret madness. I raised my hand and pressed against his shoulder. What do you want to do? Before, Leo liked to kiss me in the car very much. Every time he would stick to me and kiss for a long time. After finally pushing him away, he would immediately stick to me again. Josie, don't refuse me. In the airtight space, the familiar fragrance was pervasive. Leo's eyes darkened and gradually, after looking at me for a few seconds, he smiled faintly. I just want to help you fasten your seatbelt. I almost evasively looked away. If there was a loudspeaker in my chest, everyone could hear my deafening heartbeat. I leaned my head against the car window. I'm tired. Take a nap first. Wake me up when we arrive. I inevitably dreamed of those past events. 6 years ago. I hated rainy days. Vivian found me. She is a lofty daughter of a wealthy family. Her scrutinizing eyes were contemptuous and arrogant. Looking closely. You're not so special after all. She played with her dime and studied manicure. I heard you still have 2 burdens. A sick father and a sick mother? At this point, she laughed heartily, with a hint of mockery. Being born as miserable as you is also a kind of ability. In TV dramas, rich young masters will fall in love with pure girls. But in reality, Leo's ultimate destination can only be me. I advise you to watch less brainless dramas. That's just to satisfy the ultimate fantasy of you poor people. I looked directly at her and didn't back down. Vivian. Relying on one's parents is nothing to be proud of. Relying on my own hands is also nothing to be ashamed of. If you and Leo are really as you said, you wouldn't come to find me. Vivian's face stiffened. Really pretentious. Isn't it just about wanting money? Tell me. How much? I smiled. Leo is priceless to me. You can't afford it. Vivian raised her hand to hit me. Who do you think you are? The daughter-in-law recognized by the Yang family can only be me. I blocked her and pointed to the camera in the coffee shop. Intentionally harming others' bodies is punishable by imprisonment of less than 3 years. Detention or control. I know Vivian is not afraid. But can the Zhang family afford to lose this face? Vivian was so angry that she shouted. You wait for me. I will never let you go. At that age, one is not pretending to be innocent, but is truly innocent. Thinking that love can overcome all difficulties. But promises can't withstand any test. Even if they were spoken with sincere affection at that time. Before Leo went abroad, he pestered me all night, clinging closely to me and repeatedly saying, I love you, in my ear. It was so noisy that I told him to shut up. He smiled and came closer, kissing me from head to toe. Josie, it would be great if you could become tiny. Then I could put you in my pocket wherever I go. Wait for me to come back. Next time I'll take you to meet my grandma. She will definitely like you. For half a month, Leo's phone couldn't be reached, and the messages I sent were like stones sinking into the sea. I belatedly realized that my understanding of him was terrifyingly little. Debt collectors came to the door. My father died. I rarely felt a sense of guilty luck. My mother, this stubborn woman, lost her life in a car accident while trying to collect my father's ashes. Enormous panic and grief enveloped me, having lost two relatives in succession. I received Leo's belated breakup text message in the morning hall. Let's break up. I'm tired of you, Josie. What was my reaction at that time? Desperately calling his phone? Or running out to look for him? It's been too long to remember clearly. I began to hate him. It would be better if it was earlier or later. Why at this time? In the end of hating him, I remembered the winter night again. Leo followed me home by stepping on my footprints in the snow. From that age to this age, 4 years of relationship seems to be only this left. Driven by Vivian's money, people in school began to spread malicious rumors about me, saying that I was dumped after being played with and being in heavy debt. Now I'm working as a hostess. Even some boys openly threw money on my face and asked me how much for one night. My tutor advised me to go abroad for graduate studies. She admires me and has helped me a lot. The day before leaving, I sent Leo the last message. I won't wait for you anymore. Leo. Goodbye. A little sound could wake me up. Throughout the whole night, I opened the message list countless times. I changed my phone, canceled all social media platforms, and crossed the ocean. In the 3 years abroad, as long as I stopped, I would think of Leo. Those details that I didn't pay attention to became very unbearable after the filter of love disappeared. Every time I recalled it, I became a little more silent. Every time he avoided talking about his family. He didn't like to show our relationship publicly. He lied to me that he was going abroad to see his grandma, but then disappeared and broke up. Actually, it didn't have to be like this. I'm not a person who likes to pester. Leo always regarded this as a game. So much so that he didn't even want to see me when we broke up. Just a light-hearted, I'm tired of you. Whether it was his persistent pursuit of me or my deep dependence on him, they all became jokes. I studied and worked hard, filling all the gaps of time with business. For 6 years, I didn't need Leo. And I don't need him now either. I opened my eyes suddenly. It had been a long time since I arrived downstairs in the community. Leo hadn't woken me up. The car wasn't turned off. The heater was on all the time. There was his coat covering me. In late autumn, Leo was wearing a thin shirt. The ashtray on the engine hood was filled with cigarette butts. He leaned on one side, lowered his head and lit a cigarette. Frowning, his lips were a little pale from the cold. I watched for a few minutes, tracing his almost perfect profile with my sight. The fingertips burned red by cigarette butts and the broken hair stuck behind the neck all showed a bit of pitifulness. The action of pushing open the car door was interrupted by a burst of phone ringing. I even hated that the night was too quiet, which magnified that sound infinitely. The woman on the other end of the receiver was coquettish. Her tone was familiar. Leo. Why aren't you at home? It was Vivian. At this moment, I felt absurd and ridiculous for my just now softening. Leo seemed to sense something. He looked back and met my gaze, and subconsciously cut off the call. I walked over and my expression had returned to calm. Leo. We didn't have a proper farewell 6 years ago. Let's say it again now. We broke up. Don't see each other again. Leo didn't move. Others have a chance to correct their mistakes. Why don't I ever have one? I felt powerless. Don't you have enough? What right do you have to say you have nothing? Leo stood there helplessly, like a child who had been scolded. Big teardrops rolled down from his red-rimmed eyes. But only you are truly good to me. I sneered. Isn't your dad good to you? As the crown prince of the Liang group, isn't everything you have now given by him? There was a moment of confusion on Leo's expression. His voice was very soft. But I still heard it clearly. My dad is not good. He wants me to die. I was nailed to the spot. For a moment, I couldn't tell whether he was lying and pretending to be pitiful or if it was true. Suddenly, Leo stepped forward, held my knee and lifted it up. With one hand, he carried me on his shoulder. The movements were so fast that I didn't even have time to react. My head was hanging upside down and congested. Put me down. Don't make me hate you. His eyes were hollow and raining. In the desperate lifelessness, there was madness. Then do something that makes you hate me even more. It's better than being ignored. Pushed against the dark corridor wall, I subconsciously wanted to escape. Leo is a complete mad dog in some respects. Before, when I went out for advanced studies with my tutor and missed replying to his messages, he could do something like locking me at home for 3 days. When I supported my sore waist and kicked him out, he instead pretended to be extremely aggrieved and cried, and accused me of being too cold to him. My legs were a bit weak and I couldn't push him away. I could only scold him, "Go away. Don't go crazy." He gave a very soft laugh, which was terrifying. "You are mine. Josie. You are mine." A big hand with male fragrance stroked my face. He forcibly turned my face over despite my resistance. Leo kissed rather fiercely and extremely eagerly. In my anger and embarrassment, I punched his broad and solid chest hard. In the gap when I finally caught my breath, I only had time to scold, "Go away." I don't know how long it took before his lips finally left. A wave of powerless hatred welled up from the bottom of my heart. I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. "Are you worthy of your fiancée? She's not my fiancée." "What do you mean?" Leo pushed his cheek and curled up the corner of his mouth. Under his thin lips, 2 small pointed teeth glinted slightly. He took my hand and bit it. "Not hard enough. Use more strength." I glared at him, so angry that my teeth itched. Leo reached out and rubbed my wrist. "Are you relieved? Does your hand hurt?" Seeing that I was so angry that I couldn't speak, he buried himself on the side of my neck and said pitifully, "Josie, I'm so happy that you still keep the amulet I gave you." At some point, the amulet in my pocket was taken out by him, spread out in front of me, like a child eager to be praised. This scene was like a shackle tightly binding my heart. I almost believed his explanation. Almost. The sharp ringtone of the phone interrupted my hesitation. Leo's agent said on the other end, "Leo, Vivian has been waiting for you." I was suddenly awake and tugged at the corner of my mouth. I grabbed that amulet and threw it out of the window directly. "It's just forgotten garbage." Leo's face instantly turned pale. I didn't feel any pleasure at all. I just felt like there was cotton stuffed in my chest. It was extremely uncomfortable. At the moment when I closed the door, I saw him squatting in the corner waiting for the elevator, constantly raising his hand to wipe his eyes. The next day when I went to work, I saw that amulet on the doorknob. The amulet that had been repackaged and tied with a red string. It's a pity that the amulet can be found back. But time cannot be reversed. After that day, Leo didn't appear for a long time. I still continued to work. Only occasionally when I stopped, I would think of him. Very rarely. Not as frequently as before. Over the years, I have almost lived like an isolated island. I resist interacting with people. I'm afraid of being let down. I'm afraid of giving affection, but not getting a response. I should have let it go long ago. So when the department proposed a gathering, I didn't refuse. For the first time, I put on a light makeup meticulously. When Scott saw me come in, he sneered. "The gold digger didn't go to hook up with rich guys today, and came to eat our poor people's meal?" He had pursued me before. After being rejected by me, he always said in private that I was pretending to be noble. I ignored him and sat down next to the round-faced little nurse. Yvonne's name is as lovely as she is. She leaned close to my ear and whispered, Josie. Don't be afraid. I'll protect you. Just chewing the tongue after seeing a few unfounded news. My heart skipped a beat. What news? Yvonne widened her eyes. Don't you usually browse the hot searches? I shook my head. She took out her phone and showed it to me. Divorce of a wealthy marriage alliance. Suspected third-party interference. Movie king cheats on female doctor. Vivian sheds tears on the set. The day Leo sent me home. I was indeed photographed. Those few photos were clearly hanging at the top of the hot search. Although there was only a side profile. Colleagues who worked together every day could still recognize me at a glance. Yvonne carefully looked at my expression. Leo personally refuted the rumor and said he had nothing to do with Vivian. But many fans don't believe it. The scolding on the internet is so terrible. By the way, Josie, do you really know Leo? Leo has nothing to do with Vivian? I was a bit dazed and nodded in reply. We were high school classmates. Yvonne's eyes suddenly became excited. Even a random photo taken by the paparazzi is so beautiful. The atmosphere is amazing. I kind of ship you two. During the whole meal, I didn't eat much. Leo forwarded the hot search comment with his main account. No marriage alliance. No relationship. There were both scolding and supporting comments below. What's wrong with our Vivian that she's not good enough for you? Insane. I've seen people who cling but never seen someone so shameless. Others have refuted the rumor but you're still jumping. Are you a fan of Leo? Laughing to death. Was it also true that the paparazzi photographed Vivian visiting your dad before? Leo replied, what does her visiting my dad have to do with me? Visiting your dad can't prove that you two are dating? Only your mouth is left. Leo, I suggest you go to the psychiatric department to check your brain. Even if the delusional disorder is cured, you will still drool. Dude. You are really my dude. You are so brave to personally enter the battlefield and tear apart. You all think about it. You all think about it carefully. What is the reason for the dude to personally enter the battlefield and prove his innocence? Leo replied, I don't want her to misunderstand. From this point on, it has become a guessing game of who she is. I bet 5 yuan. It's that female doctor. I bet. If I lose, you all have to compensate me. You brat. The abacus beads are flying right in my face. After the event, Yvonne still held me and kept gossiping. The door of the private room next to us was not closed tightly. Through the gap, I saw a familiar figure. He also seemed to see me and immediately ran out. It was the agent who accompanied Leo to the hospital last time. He was all smiles. Josie. Wait. Coincidentally, I have something on my side. Can you do me a favor and send Leo home? Before I could refuse, he pushed me into the private room. His eyes darting around. His face clearly showed, this family will fall apart sooner or later without me. Yvonne was dragged out. Josie. I can't leave Josie alone. The agent, kids don't ask too many questions about adult matters. Inside the private room, there was only Leo. He had shed the noble and absent look in front of the camera. There was a pink tinge on his cold white skin, as if he was drunk. His 2 long legs were curled up between the tables. He leaned back on the chair and looked up, frowning. His face had an expression of grievance and pitifulness. As I approached, I felt the tear stains at the corner of his eyes, and a sour feeling welled up in my heart. His nose twitched slightly, and he suddenly opened his eyes and turned his gaze to me. His voice was hoarse from the alcohol. Josie. I miss you so much. Leo wasn't so obedient when he was drunk before. His excited energy had nowhere to vent. He often got up in the middle of the night to work. He would clean the whole house thoroughly. His eyes were shining brightly, like a child asking for praise. Now he is completely well-behaved and obedient. He doesn't make any noise. He just holds my hand tightly, and won't let go. When I asked him for his address, he refused to open his mouth no matter what and just hummed and whined by my neck. I could only take him back home. Leo was reeking of alcohol. I forced him into the bathroom, listening to the sound of water coming from inside. I leaned warily by the bedside. Leo's jacket was casually draped over the sofa, and half of a mobile phone was exposed inside. I picked it up as if possessed by a ghost, and a strange feeling rose in my heart. This mobile phone is not the one he usually uses. The style is very old. The mobile phone calendar reminder sounded. Month? It's been so many years. Has Josie come back? Month was the day 6 years ago when I sent him the breakup text message. I clicked into the text message list, which was full of our text messages during our relationship. He sent more messages, while my replies were very brief. Usually, he would send 7 or 8 messages before I would find time to reply one. But even so, he still sent a lot of messages continuously every day. Josie. Today I saw little Calico get downstairs at your medical school. It's so cute. But not as cute as you. Good morning, baby. 3 minutes have passed, and you haven't replied to me. It's okay. My hot face just needs to stick to your cold butt. I didn't sleep well last night. I miss you. Wow, Yushu. I got up and am going to the gym to exercise. Show you a photo of my abdominal muscles. Don't spread it around. I replied to this one, just so, and saved it casually. Scrolling to the end. There were several undelivered messages in the outbox. There is a riot here. I don't know if I can survive tonight. All communications have been cut off. Grandma is injured. The riot is still ongoing. In the second drawer of the study, there is my estate registration. It's all left to you. But you can't spend it on other men. Women are not allowed either. Otherwise, even if I become a ghost, I won't let that person go. But for you, it's okay. You are so kind and innocent. It must be that they deceived you. Josie. I miss you so much. Tears welled up and blurred on the screen. I read those few text messages over and over again. It was like a knife had been thrust into my heart. It made all my internal organs ache. Leo came out at some point. He put on the t-shirt I had placed at the bathroom door, lifted the collar and sniffed it, looking very annoying. He didn't notice my loss of composure. He cautiously probed, "Why do you have men's clothes at home?" I didn't tell him that I bought it for myself to wear as pajamas because I like loose clothes. Instead, holding back a breath, I deliberately made him uncomfortable. My boyfriends. Leo was like being slapped. He looked up and stared at me fixedly. Say that again? Don't you think that by using the same tricks as before, pretending to be pitiful and drunk can make me soften? People always look forward. I already have a new boyfriend. You're lying. Leo strode over and didn't even care about falling down in his haste. He grabbed my shoulders and was full of grief and anger. Did you really date someone? I don't believe it. I looked at him carefully, and a malicious emotion rose in my heart. I'm not lying. It's that senior who chased me in college before. I'll bring him out for you to see some other day. Leo was stunned. His voice was trembling, and he looked extremely painful. You won't be with someone else. I know. You're lying to me. Since all communications were cut off back then, that breakup text message couldn't have been sent by Leo. Before I could figure out the reason in middle, Leo pounced on me. His teeth made my lips go numb. Tears mixed with blood were bitter and astringent. He couldn't stop crying and kissed me harder and harder. I had a strange feeling of being in a downpour. After a while, he released me and gently kissed the blood on the corner of my mouth, pressing his forehead against mine. He choked and said, I'm better than him in every way and younger than him. How could you choose him over me? It must be that he pesters you relentlessly. If so, then why did you bring me back? Why did you tell me? I don't want to hear it. I raised my hand to wipe his tears, but found that I couldn't wipe them all. He really loves crying. I smiled, because I still can't bear to part with you a little. Leo stared at me blankly, and said nothing. My heart was filled with a dense, sour pain. It was hard for me not to be soft-hearted seeing him like this. But thinking of what he had done, I couldn't help but sting him with words. When your boyfriend is not around, come find me. Okay? Looking at Leo's devastated expression, I touched his face. Just sleeping together once won't interfere with your work and life. He buried his face on the side of my neck and cried for a long time. Tears flowed down my spine and covered my back. After a long time, he finally raised his head. His eyes filled with lifelessness. Okay. I promise you. Am I only useful for this now? Right? Seeing that I didn't speak, he suddenly pressed over and bit me hard on the shoulder. He was crying so hard that his whole body was shaking. I know. I'll listen to you. Don't abandon me. Josie. Can you not be with others? I was wrong. I've been looking for you for 6 years. I can change everything you're not satisfied with. You can treat me however you want. I will always be good to you. Please. That year when I went to see Grandma, I had already agreed with her that I would take you with me next time. But there was a riot there. Josie. I couldn't contact you. When I came back, my dad said you didn't want me anymore. I kept touching his red and eye corners and asked softly, what was that about when you said your dad wanted to kill you? Leo leaned on my shoulder and answered in a low voice, my mother died in childbirth. He hates me. When I was little, he watched me fall into the pond without doing anything. It was Grandpa the butler who saved me. Later, he left me with a fever on the highway. To save my life, Grandpa the butler sent me to Grandma's place and I didn't come back until I was a certain age. A child who grew up in the hatred of his biological father. Clingy. Always worried about losing and lacking a sense of security. I shouldn't have teased him. Sorry. Leo. I shouldn't have lied to you. I won't be with anyone except you. He still didn't want to let me go and just kept confirming with me over and over. Why did you lie to me? To get revenge on you for sending me a breakup text message and leaving without saying goodbye 6 years ago. His eyes were moist as he loudly accused. I never sent it. How could I send such a text message? I nodded. I know. So can you investigate clearly and then tell me? Okay. He leaned on my neck again. His tall figure wrapped me in his arms and kept rubbing against me. Then don't lie to me again. Okay. Say you like me. I held his face in my hands and had never been so serious. I love you. Josie. You're so good. Leo pounced on me and hugged me tightly. The kiss with a hint of alcohol on his face gradually deviated from its course and accurately captured my slightly parted lips. The next day, I went to work with 2 dark circles under my eyes. Fortunately, there was no surgery scheduled this morning. The director called me to his office. He held a thermos cup inside. Josie. I have high hopes for you. But personal style issues still need to be taken seriously. I was stunned for a moment and asked, what? The face behind his glasses showed contempt. You've been complained about. Sexual harassment of a patient. And the patient is still a minor. 3 months ago, I treated a boy. He added my work number under the pretext of consulting about his condition, and sent text messages every day. He even blocked my way after work to confess. Josie. Be with me. Josie. Do you look down on me because I'm young? I can give you anything. I attributed this to the overly exuberant hormones of young people. Just a blind affection for the opposite sex. I firmly refused him and told him to focus on his studies. I thought this matter was over. But I didn't expect to be complained about by the patient's mother. The director added, the patient's mother is very emotional. She accuses you of seducing her son, and receiving expensive gifts from her son. I said, I never accept anything from patients. The director pushed his phone over. There was a purchase screenshot on it. A Cartier Ballon Blue Lady's watch. Priced at X yuan. The director questioned. The surveillance camera captured that you did receive this express delivery. How do you explain? I was at a loss for words. The arrival time of that express delivery was extremely coincidental. I had just bought something online a few days ago. After receiving it, I was so busy with work that I didn't even open it to look. I opened the drawer. But the express delivery was gone. The director and others stood behind me. When the boy's mother saw the empty drawer, she rushed up and wanted to slap me. Leo suddenly appeared and pulled me into his arms. The slap only reached Leo's shoulder and neck. With a crisp sound, a ring on her hand scratched a very conspicuous blood mark on Leo's neck. I panicked and used an alcohol pad to wipe it. Leo held my hand and pulled it down, smiling reassuringly. "Don't worry. It's okay." He shielded me behind him. His fierce eyes made the woman retreat step by step. The woman simply lay down on the ground and slapped her thighs desperately. "Everyone come and see. This shameless slut is not enough to seduce minors, but also keeps a rich guy. How can she be a doctor? You must fire her. And she has to kowtow and apologize to my son." Leo looked down at this crazy woman. "This big sister. Your malicious slander and assault can get you sued until you lose everything. The lawyer team of the Yang family is not to be trifled with." The woman was first stunned, and then took a step back in fear. Gritting her teeth resentfully, she said, "No matter what you say, it's a fact that she accepted my son's gift. The tens of thousands of yuan that our whole family painstakingly saved were all cheated away by this little bitch." Her finger was almost poking at my face, but was blocked by Leo. In the gap among the crowd, I saw Vivian with half of her face covered by a mask. She seemed surprised that Leo would appear here. She gave me a venomous glare, then turned and left. Someone present took a video and uploaded it online. Several hot topics were deliberately pushed to the front page. Even the background of my parents was exposed. Serial mistress? Seducing minors? Counting the dark history of the new love of the movie King. Background of Dot Drive. Josie of City First Hospital. Sick father. Sick mother. Contemporary White Lotus. Cheating minors of tens of thousands of yuan. There are all kinds of insults in the comments section. City First Hospital? I'll directly add it to the blacklist. She has such a slutty look. Does she deserve to compete with my Vivian? Leo is blind. I said it. What good stuff can be taught by a family like this? Vivian, don't be sad. Leo will regret it sooner or later. It must be this doctor who shamelessly seduced Leo. She should see how much she weighs before competing with our Vivian. Although mistresses are wrong, men are not good things either. Those haters upstairs go away. Haven't you watched the video? She seduced a minor and even the mother came to make a scene. This woman is a habitual offender. Under pressure from public opinion, the hospital suspended me for investigation. Scott watched me pack up my things and sarcastically said in a loud voice, "Oh, our ice beauty didn't expect to be such a person." If I were to say, women should stay at home and take care of their husbands and children. Being a male doctor is really embarrassing. Who would dare to marry you? Scott's attitude was too arrogant, making it hard for me not to suspect that he was also involved. When I passed by him, I deliberately tested him. Don't bark too loudly when you are a lackey who takes money to do things for others. Be careful not to bite your tongue. A trace of panic flashed in his eyes, and he raised his voice. You are not clean yourself and still want to drag others down? Damn it. Stay away from me. I think you are dirty. Who splashed me? Yvonne's thermos cup was empty. She rolled her eyes and said, I thought there was a septic tank explosion somewhere. It's so smelly. It turns out it's your stinky mouth. You're welcome. Consider it as washing it for you. After saying that, she came over to help me move things. Don't pay attention to him, Josie. I believe in you. Scott was so angry that he wanted to hit someone. I stretched out my leg. He fell straight to the ground and broke two front teeth on the spot. Yvonne applauded and dragged me away. When sending me to Leo's car, she winked slyly. Josie, don't worry. It's on me. I didn't understand what she meant and just thought she was a little girl joking. After getting in the car, I kept my face buried on my knees, and tears kept flowing out. That past that I least wanted to recall. My father who would raise his fist and come home every time he was drunk. My overly timid and kind mother. Word or open and exposed on the internet. Subject to criticism. Leo didn't say a word all the way until I had no strength to cry anymore. Only then did he pull over. In a joking tone, he said, "The seat belt is not fastened." I almost got all my points deducted along the way. I stopped sobbing and glared at him. Leo unfastened his own seat belt, turned sideways and took me into his arms. He kissed the tears on my cheek and held my hand. In a serious tone, he said, "Josie, listen to me. I have been investigating the Zhang family all these years. Reminded by you, I changed my perspective and found that the car accident of your mother back then was inseparably related to them. That text message back then was also sent to you by her after she tampered with the number. Her ambition is not just me. She wants the entire Yang family." Yvonne got the internal surveillance video of the hospital. For this reason, she deliberately revealed her identity as the daughter of the hospital director. She raised her chin arrogantly. "You're welcome. This young lady loves to punish evil and promote good." That watch was indeed stolen by Scott. Not only did he take Vivian's money and fan the flames, but he also sold the watch on the second-hand market. When the police came to the door with evidence, he was still cursing non-stop. "Why arrest me? Why not arrest Josie? You should arrest that shameless woman." Of course, the police would not pay attention to his barking. The woman who made trouble was also invited to have tea, and her son was also educated. I heard that she was so scared in the police station that she took the initiative to confess that Vivian paid her to make trouble. A farce reversed even before it lasted a few days. The Zhang family was arrested for being involved in gang-related activities. All the things Vivian had done in the past were exposed after losing the protection of the Zhang family. Of course, Leo played a role in promoting this. I heard that she begged Leo's father, "Uncle, didn't you say that the only daughter-in-law of the Liang family will only be me? Uncle, help me. Help me. For so many years, I have served you like my own father." Leo's father is such a cold-hearted person that he can even cruelly treat his own son. Not to mention a down-and-out rich lady who is now worthless to him. But Vivian is not a good person either. She stabbed Liang Yuan with a knife. No one expected this. "You old thing. You don't know what's good for you. If I can't get your son, then you will go to hell with me." Leo asked people to do their best to save Liang Yuan's life. But he can only spend the rest of his life in bed. The hospital lifted the investigation on me and restored my job. Despite my every effort to stop him, Leo still officially announced his transition to behind the scenes. When he first entered the entertainment industry, he was selected by the police to be an informant. The purpose was to destroy the Zhang family's gang-related forces. The official arrest of the Zhang family caused a sensation on the internet. Oh my god. I thought I was watching an 8 o'clock melodramatic love triangle. Suddenly it turned into social news and then quickly switched to legal news. The world has finally become as crazy as I want it to be. I punish myself with a glass of wine for scolding Josie a few days ago. Woo woo woo. I cried so much. I just finished browsing the gossip group. Their relationship line is so sweet. I'm really fed up with you fickle people. By the way, does Leo really want to transition to behind the scenes, or does he want to stick with his wife at home every day? Will Leo rely on his wife to support him after retiring from the entertainment industry? Leo replied to this one alone. "House husband is my ideal life." Was my account hacked? Was my account hacked? Was my account hacked? I'm convinced. Someone come and take this love-struck person away. Josie has worked hard. I suggest kicking him and being with me. I love beautiful older sisters. Love it. Why does the person upstairs have to break up this family? I'm different. I'm here to join this family. Neither I nor Leo continued to follow the subsequent developments on the internet. Because his madness flared up again and he pestered me relentlessly. Big teardrops fell on my face. He blatantly and directly repeated shameful words in my ear. I opened my eyes when I was put into the bathtub. Only then did I realize that I was leaning in Leo's arms. With a slight lift of my head, I could see his tall nose bridge and crimson lips. Like a big cat that has had its fill and is now grooming its paws. With a look of contentment, Leo cupped water to wash my face and gently wiped away the tear stains on my face. I shrank my neck and couldn't bear it anymore and slapped him. Crazy. Leo caught my hand and kissed the palm. Is this all the strength Josie has? I kicked him. Go away. I looked at my collarbone with broken skin and was so angry that I didn't want to lie in Leo's arms and sleep. He complained in a low voice. Josie. Do you know? You are like the kind of person who would rather hide in the car after the age of 40 than go home and sleep with his wife. You don't love me anymore. I immediately stopped moving and turned to face him. Leo also looked good when lying on his side. His face on the pillow didn't deform. His handsome and cold features were showing a pitiful expression. I stared at him for a while before I picked up the hand he had placed on the pillow and put it around my waist. Now Leo was happy and showed an extremely beautiful smile. He pulled me into his arms with one arm and patted my back with his big hand, with the other hand holding my shoulder. I was almost lying on top of him entirely. Josie. Touch me too. I rolled my eyes and rubbed his abdominal muscles a few times impatiently. Sleep. 6 years seem to have changed everything. And yet it seems nothing has changed. Everyone has their own hardships. It doesn't matter who has more. If you are lucky enough to meet the right person, being brave is always right. The end.